Welcome to Emotional Support Water Bottle with Hannah and Ailish.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ailish. We're back together again. It was a little touch and go because the storms that were supposed to be rolling in didn't really, but
not in our area.
Yeah, if we had any tornadoes, we might not have been able to meet up. So
I know, I was like, because it's kind of fun when like a storm's coming and you're like, ooh, living on the edge. But then you're like, no, actually, it's way better that nothing happens.
I know.
Your whole freaking rest of the year ruined by losing your house or something.
But I do like a thunderstorm, and especially at nighttime. And so I was kind of annoyed that we didn't even really get much rain, like heavy rain or thunder.
No, the only thing we got was like insane fog.
Yeah, and then like there was some wind.
Right.
But like nothing.
No.
I mean, I got so many weather alerts.
I know, where it was like, oh, we're all gonna die.
I know.
Like, ah.
And then it just scooted right past us.
I know, it just didn't make its way up. And then we have the eclipse coming.
I know.
I'm like, because we're in an area where you're supposed to have total
like the
coverage
best,
or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's supposed to be really crazy traffic. And it's like, ugh.
Okay, but they keep saying this.
I know, but I don't know what's going to happen.
Like, I have work off. My dad has work off. Did they give it to you?
I'm working till 1.
So early? Because when is it supposed to hit?
3 or 3:30.
But then I keep seeing that there might be cloud coverage.
I know. But we'll still see like the darkness, right? So that'll still be kind of cool. But then, we all have like our glasses, and then
I don't have any. I have to get some stuff.
Well, we have 2 pairs, but then I was like gonna let my older kid look at it, and then everyone's like, I don't know, like if you should because of the eyes thing, and I'm like. Just
then
let
what's
him
the point
see
of the
it.
glasses?
I know, like literally, I thought the glasses were supposed to help. And
they were supposed to protect you.
Right. And the last time, I know we didn't have like a full eclipse that one year, but I remember we had like the glasses thing and it worked fine. Actually, that was kind of funny. When was that?
2017.
2017, because I remember like at work, we like all took turns, like one at a time, went out the door and like looked at it. We're like, huh, okay.
I looked because I didn't have glasses. So I like got my phone and looked at it through my phone, which I guess was fine. I mean, it didn't damage my vision. But because I was just looking this up the other day because my dad and I were talking about eclipses, and it was a full eclipse, but since we weren't in the right area, that's why for us it was a partial.
Okay.
Because I don't even know where the band was where like you get the total eclipse of the sun or whatever, but we just weren't in the area. And then I don't know, like, how many years does it happen? Or like, I don't know how it's determined where the band is. I guess
know it's kind of wild that they can track.
I know. I know.
Well, we'll have to tell you guys how our experience went.
I know. I need to get some glasses. My dad, I think, has some at work. I mean, they have them everywhere. I was just at the eye doctor yesterday and they had them there, but they were $3 each. And I was just like,
free ones.
I don't know about that.
I know.
Even though they're probably the best quality from the eye doctor.
But then it's like, it's literally going to be just a couple minutes.
I know.
You know, and it's like, you probably won't stare the whole couple. Maybe we will.
Maybe we will. I don't know.
Maybe I'll be totally enthralled with this.
Yeah, because I think it is, what is it total? Like 3 or 4 minutes.
I think that's what
I mean, that's not really that much out of my life. But like, honestly, I feel like I could easily miss it too. Like, oh shoot, I forgot. And then I was in the shower or something like bizarre. Well, we also had Easter last Sunday. And I just wanted to say, I know a lot of people can relate to this. First of all, my dad, if he's listening to this, did not get me an Easter basket. Did not even get me one.
I didn't get anything for Easter either.
This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Wait.
Not even one piece of chocolate, Hannah. I didn't get one thing.
I know. I'm trying to think. I feel like, unless my mom got me, but what did she get me?
You would remember.
I feel like I would.
You would remember.
But I did get candy from the kids to an Easter egg hunt.
That doesn't count. That was theirs, and you just, that was a mom tax.
Yeah. Like, I gotta make sure there's no razor blades in it.
I got it, quality control. No, I went to Target and I got my dad a cute little Easter basket. He likes soccer, so they had a cute little soccer basket. I was like, that is adorable. And I got him some of his favorite little things. Was I reciprocated with a cute Easter basket? No. And you know what the excuse was? I didn't have time. Really?
Get on Amazon.
It's been in the stores for like a month and a half.
I know. Yeah, I don't really think.
We're just being, it's like you turn 30 and
no one cares.
No one cares anymore.
I still want I'll do a freaking Easter egg hunt to get some candy of my own.
I would take one chocolate bunny. Actually, I love the Cadbury cream eggs. Those are my favorite. I would take those.
I like Kit Kats.
I love the Robin's eggs too, but that's like the Whoppers.
Yeah.
Do you like the Whoppers?
No, like if there's nothing else I can eat if I'm desperate, but I
like
doubt what
favorite.
I want to go to. Which is kind of weird because I know Kit Kats and Whoppers are different, but that almost like wafery, crumbly thing.
Kind of a similar
it's
texture.
Like weird. I don't really like those.
But I like a malted shake.
See, that I like, but it's like as the ball of candy.
I love them, but I could not. So I bought, when I was at Target, I bought myself a little, they have those like tiny milk cartons.
Yeah.
And that was the only thing I could find the Robin's eggs in. And usually they have them in a bag and they're the big normal sized ones. And these were just minis. And I think it was because this was like on Friday. So it was right before Easter and basically everything was cleared out. But still, like, do they not make them anymore regular size?
I don't know.
And I think they're cute because they're all speckled in different colors.
Yeah, those are cute little ones.
But yeah, that was my first thing. No Easter basket. I feel we're in solidarity that you didn't get one either.
I'm really feeling like I didn't get something. I feel like I would remember it.
And my Easter baskets were never crazy either. It was literally just candy.
I know. I feel like she would do it different all the time. Like it would just. And then I made mini Easter baskets for my son's class.
That was cute. Like
that was just, I did too much.
That was extra though. When you sent me that picture,
I know, it's literally gift wrap. I'm like, what am I? And then when I was like doing it, I'm like, why did I do this? Because it's like for the party, they have like a little Easter party and you can like volunteer to do stuff. And one of them is goodie bags. So I said, okay, I'll do the goodie bags. And then it was like, no, I made mini Easter baskets. It wasn't a freaking, it's like at first I was like, oh, I'll order, like I was going to do this other, like an actual bag. And then I'm like, oh, those look like a little basket. But then they were a little flimsier. So I'm like, oh, I have an idea. I'll make it like a gift bag. And they got a mini Play-Doh, 2 sticky hands. They each got 2 eggs with candy in it. Then they got stuff to make a peep s'more.
Oh my God.
It was too much. I'm like, why did I do this? And then I had little grass in there to like decorate it. I'm like, this is just too much. Why did I do that? I'm like,
just went in too deep.
Literally. And how can I outdo that?
You can't. You can never do the gift bags again.
Gosh, I'm like, what? And then like my husband had to go take it to the school and he's got like 2 big things carrying them in there.
Because how many are in his class?
At 24. I had to do 24 of them. It was just too much. But I mean, like I had fun, but I was like, what?
In the middle of it, you were like, what am I doing?
And it was like, there's no turning back. And then my mom and husband were trying to wrap it and they were just doing a horrible job. Sorry, you guys were doing a terrible job. And then I had to come in and after I had made them all cute, all they had to do was wrap them up. And then they then I had to do all that.
So you had to redo it.
I had to literally undo some, redo it.
That drives me crazy. And then people wonder why we're like, no, I'll just do it all and then get frustrated. It's because we try to delegate and it doesn't turn out how we want.
And I literally told my husband, I was like, if I'm taking the time to do it, then it has to look good. If I'm wasting my time and all on this, then I don't want it to look stupid.
I mean, they were really cute.
Yeah, they did turn out pretty cute. I kind of wanted one for myself.
Well, you should have made it for yourself.
I didn't realize I wasn't going to get anything. Not that I'm not ordering myself stuff all the time. But
you just expect like one piece of chocolate.
I know, like my own bag of Kit Kats that I don't want to share with the little trolls in the house.
Right. One little chocolate bunny or something.
Something.
Remember, I don't know, did you ever do an egg hunt and some of them would have quarters in them?
Like, what is this?
But it was like such a big deal.
I know.
They were quarters.
Like quarters. And then you'd shake it.
You're like,
it. Oh, yeah.
And the sound that the money would make in the plastic egg.
I know.
It was so delicious sounding. Well, the other thing I wanted to say that I think people can relate to is just the unfortunate conversations that happen around the family dinner table at the holidays. So we were, my family's all together. Everything's going great. And then you're having a conversation and then all of a sudden things take a sharp left turn and it gets political and divisive. And I'm just like, oh my God. I mean, I was engaged in the conversation and then all of a sudden things just went completely off the rails and I just picked up the wine and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And I turned to my cousin. I'm like, we've got to change the conversation. We have got to get it. And he's like, oh no, I'll bring up something about the dog. Like I can do it. And then like a moment passes and he like my family member who was going deep in on this and did not stop just kept going. And then my cousin's like, I don't think I can do it. The train has gone too far off. I'm like, no, there's no turning back. We can't get it back now. So we just had to sit there with our like heads down. And like, what do you say? Like, especially when you don't share the same views as some of your family members and you know that nothing that you say is going to be helpful in the conversation. It's like, I don't understand why people bring this up. And then some of the things that they were saying weren't even true facts.
Right.
And it's so frustrating and you just have to sit there.
You're like, okay. I know. That is literally the word. It's like, how'd we get here?
I don't even know how. It just went so far off the rails and then it just made things weird. And I'm like, why? This can't be happening. Like things were actually going okay. Oh my God. Like, does that ever happen at your family functions? Because at mine, I feel like it happens pretty much every holiday.
I feel like not too bad, actually. Like, sometimes my stepdad will, like, say something annoying or stupid, and then we just kind of ignore him. Like, nobody engages with it. But sometimes they will, though. And it's like... But usually at my husband's families, that doesn't really happen. And then, like, when I'm with my grandma and grandpa and them, I don't really think it happens too much. Or, again, I'll just, like, not engage with it. And then if I'm not engaging, there's only, like, one other person.
Yeah,
so
that's doing it. Right. It's just, like, there's one person in my family who is so... I guess just like strong-willed and can make themselves be like the loudest one in the room when they want to be. And so it's hard to have them not be heard.
Right.
And then like I had this card when when we were going over to their house for Thanksgiving, my dad and I did like a cycling class that morning at Cycle Bar, and they had these really cute cards which were like giving thanks forever, but the one that I took said no one can make me feel inferior. And that's what I feel sometimes when I go to my family stuff and then this type of stuff comes up, and if I were to say my opinion or a counter argument, it would just get totally shot down because this person is unwilling to hear anything else.
Right.
And it just makes it awkward and frustrating. So, I mean, we moved past it, but it was just like, I mean, that was definitely a conversation in the car where I said to my dad, like, why did it have to go there? Like, I couldn't even, and even like my cousins were just like, oh my God, like, please make this stop.
I know. You can, whenever somebody like makes one of those like comments or like even like just like a weird stance on something, you just know there's no point of engaging.
Right.
It's not going to get, I know like the one time I was like with these other mothers and then the one girl goes, oh, it's just so amazing the way you don't have to teach boys to be boys. They just know how to do it. That's why this trans stuff is even more confusing. And I was like, because you say comments like that.
What does that even mean?
I know. I'm like, what are you talking about? And just because like you can it just was like, I'm just not even going to say anything.
But that's just so, what a bizarre, like, you don't have to teach boys to be boys.
I know. Oh, you don't have to teach them to like. It's just such a bad.
Like I can't even comprehend it.
I know. I'm like, what are you talking? Like they just do like the boy stuff.
Yeah, playing with trucks and jumping in the mud. That's what she's meaning by that.
And it was just like when people make comments like that, it's like because you say stuff like that, and then the little boy who wants to be a ballerina,
right?
And then you say, no, that's a girl thing. So then he thinks maybe he has to be a woman or something.
It's or like, just why can't we just you make them feel like
bad? Yeah. Just because they're not interested in exactly that doesn't make them any less of whatever gender they want to be.
It's
just
so
like,
bizarre. But you're totally right. Like you can't even say any. That's the type of comment where you're just like, and then you like disengage and walk away because there's nothing you can say.
And there's no point in arguing with people. It's like, okay, you feel that way. I feel more open to other possibilities of the way people could feel, but okay.
I just love, and I still have yet to use this. I think I brought it up either Thanksgiving or Christmas, but what I saw on TikTok where somebody said, if somebody like spews that at you and you just say, that's an interesting thing that you just said to me. So what an interesting comment to make to me.
It's like give them a complex.
Yeah, like clearly we are not the same.
You got that off your chest.
Yeah, like, but that just doesn't always work in a group setting. You know,
then it's like, it's like, and I don't want to like upset somebody either.
No, I
like,
don't want to embarrass people either.
Or like fight with people. It's like, what's the point? Unless they're really like offending me.
Right. Or if they're particularly offending somebody in the group and you know dude, that.
Stop.
Yeah. I'm fine. I will be an advocate. I will stand up for like injustice and stuff like that. But also you have to know, especially when it's family, like when to just hold your tongue and realize this is not going to be productive. There's no point.
It's so pointless.
But I mean, what do you guys do about that? Like, do you have that in your family?
Are you an instigator and get these people going?
Yeah.
Is that about drives me up the freaking wall?
I know.
Too. I'm like,
just
stop it.
I know. Sometimes my dad will do that and he'll like make comments just to be
a turd.
Yes. And it annoys me so much. And that almost annoys me more than the actual initial.
This almost wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And then you got to. Sometimes my husband will do that with his parents. Not really about like anything in particular.
Just
I'm like,
in general.
Enough. Yeah. Just tell him what's happening and stop playing these games.
I know that type of stuff drives me crazy. Yeah. But I mean, other than that, I guess.
A simple day because it's just one day.
I know. And that's
like a holiday versus like a Christmas Eve.
Sometimes they just have to like take some extra deep breaths or like tensions just get so high sometimes. Like, some people just cannot handle hosting and it really shows. And it's just, that's fine. Then we don't have to do that at your house.
Right.
Like anybody else in the family would welcome having it at their home. Or if you said, hey, let's go get brunch this year. Like I would be thrilled give me a bottomless mimosa and like a nice Easter brunch. I would be thrilled. I actually would love to do that myself, like if I were hosting. But I just feel like with some of the people that I have around me right now, that is kind of a lofty expectation, and I know I would be setting myself up for failure.
And some people just won't budge.
Right, that's it too.
No, it has to be this day. It has to be the way we do it.
We have to have
all
this,
the time.
this. Yeah, they're
we've
so
definitely
rigid.
Ran into stuff like that with some family. It's like, what's more important, the day or everyone being together?
Well, and that's where you kind of like, on one hand, it's sad when some traditions end. Like I remember when I was younger for Christmas, we would always go over to my great uncle's and there would be this huge party on Christmas Eve, and it was really fun. But then, you know, once he passed and his siblings passed, my grandma passed, like that just fizzled out. And then people made their new traditions, or like for Christmas too, I would always, like my family would always go over to my grandpa's and we'd spend the night on Christmas Eve and then wake up in the morning. But now I'm like, why would I do that? I mean, we all live in the same town. I can just drive over in the morning. That's not a big deal. And at first it was really hard for me to let go of that because it's just tradition and it's what feels good. But now I'm being more open to making new traditions. And it's, you know, you don't like to think about people in your family getting older or passing, but as you know, you have your own family, it's kind of exciting to think about what are our traditions going to be.
I know. And we're definitely like, like my husband and his siblings are all kind of like running into that right now where it's like, okay, but you get 2 days kind of
off work. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, I want to be able to have memories with my kids and like do our own thing. And it's not always, you know, it's just frustrating when it's and it is sad, but we had like a really tough situation not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before, where it was like, well, no, because they're like, what would work best? And then we're like, okay, well, this would work best. No. It's like, why'd you ask? It's like, no, he wants it, you know, this particular person wants it this day and this. And it's like,
okay, then
it's like,
you don't care about anybody else.
Literally. It was like the whole, I don't know. It's like we have to give a little bit, you know. It's like, and it just makes you want to go away on the holidays, every holiday, just not be home.
I mean, I think we really should think about doing that because
no, we're on our Christmas trip. Sorry.
Yeah, and we can just do stuff we want to do together.
You know, and like the holidays are just feel so triggering to me. Like,
I know they really are. Like, I don't
like them at all.
I definitely have had some rough ones, that's for sure, where it just, those are the ones that stick with you.
I know. And you're like, oh no, it's happening again. You do almost get like this like weird, like this, even Easter, it ended up being okay, but I was like not happy about the plans that I had to do for Easter.
I mean,
it was like,
I have to psych myself up to go and do stuff.
I know. You're like doing, freaking meditation beforehand.
Seriously.
And then it's like if one thing isn't going right, then it's like setting you off into anger. And you know, it's not that one thing. It's because you have to go do this thing that you're not comfortable doing.
I know. I just... Well, it's hard for you too, because even in your side of the family, none of you are in the same place.
Right.
So for that side and with your in-laws, it is hard to coordinate stuff. And maybe it means that you guys only do something every other year or that it ends up being a January thing. You know, like, I don't know.
I know, like it does. There has to be. Or like, so my husband works a lot of holidays and stuff. And it's kind of like, well, if we get one of those days off, like I kind of just want to all be together. And like, I don't know. It's just kind of annoying. And then it's like, if he's working, I have to drag everyone to all these places by myself. And I know I just have 2 kids, but it's like I still need all the water bottles, the extra clothes.
If you're bringing gifts places too. Yeah, I know it becomes like a lot.
Like, and I don't want to be just like alone on the holidays, which I guess I wouldn't because I'd be with the kids. It's like, I'm not unwilling to, because of course, like, people want to see their grandkids and stuff. It's like, I'm not unwilling, but you also have to work around me too, because I'm the one who's coming to you.
Well, and in some cases you become a single mom on that day. So it kind of is, it's just something I don't think that they're taking into consideration sometimes.
Most times.
Yeah. I mean,
and it's like, okay, so if your son is off, you know, the Saturday before or the Sunday before, why aren't you having it that day? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And no, let's have it when we want to do it, you know.
It's like, do they not even care that he's involved?
That's what it feels like. Not to go on like a tangent, and I won't, but it's like, that's kind of how it feels like. And then I don't know. It's just really frustrating. It's like, well, I don't want to be going places.
I know holidays are just, I think we said this before, but when you see these things on social media with these quote unquote perfect little families and they have so much fun together, I just wonder what that's like.
I know, literally like, oh, you enjoy that?
Yeah.
I know. And it's like, I want that. And and it's so hard for us to, like, not having siblings.
I know.
And of course we could have siblings and hate them, but it's like, there's no, I mean, like, in one breath, it's like we kind of get to be like on my mom's side of the family, it's like everyone's doting on my children because there's no children.
Right.
But it's like, I don't know.
Well, that's why I don't have a family like myself right now, but I would almost rather us do stuff together on the holidays, like when we have kids and stuff, because like,
our kids won't. I mean, that's the reality of it. Our kids aren't going to have cousins,
right? I mean, and like, you are my sister,
right?
So I would rather spend time with you,
right? I know, it is and I feel like people don't like understand.
Yeah.
Other only children do. I know, it just does maybe we'll try to do something different this next year. Figure something out.
Well, I'll have a couple kids this coming year. So
I have twins
by next Christmas.
Well, still, you know, it's just
no, I know, but that would just be so much more fun to me, and because we both kind of have the same expectations, and I think would put in the same amount of effort with like and making a dinner nice or whatever.
Like the tough part too, because it's like we go to these, and I'm grateful that these people are cooking and stuff, but then I feel like dumb, you know, like I'm here with basic, and I could bring, you know, stuff, but it's like, why? I don't know. I know. Well, it's like, if you're making all these things, it's like, I don't get to have that moment where I'm making this thing that the kids like, or.
Well, for Thanksgiving, my dad does not host that. And so my aunt does. But like, basically everybody brought stuff, and she had to make like a dessert and the potatoes, and that she made the turkey too. But it's like, okay, that's 3 things. The dessert you could have made ahead of time. The turkey's in all day. Potatoes are kind of a no-brainer. Like, I brought 2 sides. My dad brought all the other vegetables. My grandpa brought the stuffing. I think like another person on the other side of the family brought some wine and brought other stuff too. It's like everybody contributed stuff. So it took the pressure off the host, but they were still stressed.
Frazzled.
And it's just like, I don't know, like I enjoy doing that kind of stuff. We don't have like a nice table setting like that.
Right.
Those are the things when I go into World Market or like Trader Joe's, like I get so excited about, and I want to get these beautiful dishes and these special things. And then I'm just like, well,
what's the point? I know. I'm like, I don't get to use it.
Yeah.
And that is frustrating too. Like, I want to be able to, like, you know, I don't know. I just want to be able to do this stuff too.
I know.
And then it's like, if we wait for, which is like morbid, for these people to pass away, it's like, okay, that could be another 20, 30 years. It's like, and I just never get to do it. Like, I just don't know where it, like,
I know. And like, I mean, I'm not in the position right now to host at my apartment, but it's like, even still, I mean, if I took it over and did it at my dad's house, I could easily do that. But I'm just like, and I also, I mean, this just is like a dog on our families, but it's just.
I hate them. Screw them.
They're trash bags. Yeah. But I mean, I like things to be nice. Right. I like to make things nice. I want it to look good. Like,
or like, I want the chance to be able to do it my way.
I think because like, I have not really had those like, you know, core memory or like picture book, like holiday experiences. I want to create those, but I don't think it would be reciprocated or appreciated by other people that I would be bringing to the table. So it makes me just not even want to do it. And then if it's not hosted, like if my dad isn't hosting or I'm not hosting, it's like, well, I'm not going to like now bring all this stuff to overshadow what my aunt is doing. You know, it's that like, would be rude.
You're coming in with the 7-layer.
Yeah. Or you brought your own plate. You know, like I wouldn't do that.
I don't know. I know it is tough. And it's just and it's tough too because you don't want to step on other people's toes. Yeah. But like, I don't know. Maybe we need to start like putting our foot down. It's like, listen here. This is what I'm doing. I'm planning this with my family, and then you guys can work around it. Like, I don't want to budge this time.
Well, I mean, it's April now. Christmas will be.
So I can start mentally preparing now.
Yeah. Because I mean, for me, Christmas is the big one. I just write off Thanksgiving, basically.
I know. And that one, like, I know. I feel a lot more like, yeah, I'll just eat all the food you guys made. You know? Like,
yeah, I mean, I just basically, because that's always at my aunt's house. And so I'm just like preparing myself to just drink copious amounts of wine and watch football in front of the television and stay away from the kitchen. And then Christmas is what I want to be so nice. Like I do love Christmas. Like I really do love it, but it just always feels like it gets tainted.
I know. It's like every year you're like, yeah, you're putting on the music, you're getting the house decorated, and then it's just awful. And then you have to go back to work. I don't know. It's just like, no.
Or doesn't it frustrate you too? Like, we're going on a huge tangent about this, but we probably sound like such brats.
It's very triggering.
Hopefully other people can relate. I don't know. But like, I love how I decorate my place for Christmas. Like, I love it so much. It makes me feel so happy. I love my little tree. I love my mantle. The ambiance of the lights. Yes, I love it. And then it's just I feel nobody cares. Like, I would make such a beautiful table. Right. It would look so good.
I know. And it's underutilized.
And then you go over, well, when my dad has it, like, it's always nice at my dad's, but he doesn't do like a big spread or anything on the table either. It's pretty minimal, which again, I could definitely amp that up, but whatever. It's like, I just look at the table and I'm like, I saw these really cute plates that I could have bought. This centerpiece should be different. Like, that's what's going through my head.
Or like, even if because it's like, I'm not going to do the whole thing because it's not going to happen, you know?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
So it's like, what could, I just want to be able to be excited about that stuff and like get the kids excited. And I don't know, like, and I feel like, like our parents' generation and like the ones behind that, it was so much more like the whole family is together and stuff. And it's like, we kind of got away from that.
But it gets so hard with, your in-laws. It's like there's 3 kids in that family. Now they all are married and have their own kids. Mm-hmm. It's just really hard when families continue to grow like that.
I know. It's like, you do have to,
unless you have a mega house that can hold everybody comfortably and whatever. And especially where we are, it's not like we can utilize our outdoor space in the wintertime. So it's just, I don't know. It's not always feasible to have everybody over to do that big family Christmas anymore.
I know.
I mean, I don't know. Anyway, let's like get off that.
I'm gonna start getting depressed.
I know. I'm sorry, guys.
If the Memorial Day's coming up, it's just all gonna be a mess.
If you want to fast forward through that, I understand. After we talked about us not getting Easter baskets, just go through it. I guess that was such
a. I did want to say I ended up watching, because I talked about Elliot Page's book last time. I ended up watching Juno, but I didn't realize it was on Hulu. It like popped up, and I hadn't seen it since. I know
years.
I know I didn't see it in theaters or anything, but it was like been a couple years, and I actually did like kind of laugh and stuff. Like
I thought it was a witty movie.
I know, like it was good. I'm like, and I remembered a lot more than I thought I was, but I still like laughed. And I remember I had the soundtrack because it had such good music in it. And I'm like, I literally remember having the CD.
Mm-hmm. It did have good music.
I know, but I didn't really have much to say about it other than Sean Cameron from Degrassi was in it. And I didn't realize.
What did he play?
It was just this random like hot guy. Right? Oh. She's like, he totally wants me. I'm that type of like quirky girl. I also feel like that person, or like Juno, was a lot like Elliot Page's actual personality.
Yeah.
Like, but maybe
perfect casting.
Yeah, maybe he's a little less funny. But I just feel like he's kind of like been like very in himself. And so he maybe is not as funny, but I don't know. It's just kind of fun to watch it.
To rewatch. Yeah, that was
perfect
such
timing.
a cute movie when that came out. We were what, like freshmen, sophomore?
I don't know. I think it said it came out in 2007. So
it's freshman.
Yeah. It
wow.
like took over, but it was
what
fun.
A time.
Like the sunny
we're
delight.
Coming up on 20 years. Vomit. That's disgusting. Speaking of like movies and shows, I watched that show on Peacock, Apples Never Fall. You might have seen, I think like a few weeks ago, Amanda Hirsch posted about it on her stories, and Heather McDonald had too. And I was just wanting to watch something other than a Bravo show. Mm-hmm. I thought it was good, actually. Like Annette Bening is in it, and oh my God, her Allison Brie was in it. And that one guy that dated Aaron in The Office, and I can't remember what his real name is. Actually, I don't think I ever knew what his real name was. It was like in later season.
Gabe?
No, not Gabe. He was the younger one. I literally can't remember what his name was. You'd recognize him if you saw him. But anyway, it doesn't matter. He was in it, but he's like all grown up now. He's like weirdly attractive, but his character also had a lot of money and was like, I don't know, buff and anyway, another tangent. But anyway, basically really quick, it was about like this tennis family, which I feel like tennis is such a vibe right now.
I know.
Which we were clearly ahead of it because we played it all through our younger days. But yeah, like the mom and the dad had this like tennis academy. They used to be, on tours themselves, and they had 4 kids, and they pushed them to be tennis too. But then none of them really pursued it professionally, and they all kind of went their own ways. And I thought Annette Bening did a really great job. Anyway, mom ends up going missing, and you don't know what happened to mom, and it kind of seems like dad murdered her, but you don't know. And then each episode is about, like, one would be about the family as a whole, and then one was all about the dad, all about the mom, and then all about the 4 kids, and then kind of it wraps up at the end. So it's kind of cool to see, like, everybody's different perspectives or, like, focuses on their life, and it flashes back between, like, the present time when she's missing to a few months before. The only thing I didn't like is how it wrapped up at the end. It just felt kind of like not well thought out. Mm-hmm. And I hate it when shows do that.
Because you waste your time watching it and then you get nothing.
Yeah. And like some of the stuff just didn't make sense with how it finished off. And that just annoys me so much because they set it up to be like this real mysterious thing, and then it ends up being something else, and you're just left kind of disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was pretty good overall. And it was just...
Was it just supposed to be like a one?
Yeah, just like a limited series.
Those are fun though.
Yeah, they are.
Because you don't have to get like that invested into season after season after season. You can enjoy one season.
I don't know if like all these episodes were released at once or if it was like they staggered them a little bit. But since I watched it later, they were all out. And I like that too, because sometimes when it's a multiple season thing, they'll just like drop them every week, or they'll put out 3 and then they'll put out another 3. And then I end up losing interest because I like to just binge it.
I know. I know we're so spoiled with binging.
I know, seriously. Like we never used to have that as an option.
No. And I remember me and my husband were I can't remember what show we were talking about. I don't know, whatever. But we're like, it's so different now because it's like, when you binge watch a show, you get it done in like a weekend and then you never think about it again the next year. It's like nothing is like sticking anymore. There's no like suspense. And I like binging things, but it is kind of weird. Like when you'd watch like the sitcoms back in the day, it'd be like each week, you know?
But that is kind of interesting to talk about though, because I think that like production companies and writers are writing and creating for the binge.
Yeah.
Because like with this, it's like, okay, I just watch.
Yeesh.
Maybe don't lay on your back. You're choking
Can't
yourself.
breathe. Anyway,
they're just writing for the binge, and you know, if the intention is that somebody's going to sit down and watch it all in a weekend or even 1 week, I think that, I don't know, you feel a little bit more pressure to just like wrap it up in this pretty little bow in like a shorter period of time. Whereas say like the sitcoms and stuff that were even like shows that would just be on for like one season, then you have to wait a rest of the year for it to come on again. They had more time to create and change things or whatever throughout, you know, production. And
I know we were talking about that too. And then I'm like, and there aren't even like any, like, I know other people brought this up, but there aren't any like movie stars or TV stars, or you can be now a movie star and a TV star.
Yeah.
Because you get this show wrapped up really quick. They don't start production again till like way later. And it's like people watched your show and then they're like, oh, your movie came out.
Well,
and
that's
it's like
why you see all these people like Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah.
It's like if this was 5 years ago, 7 years ago, I mean, she would not be able to have the career that she does.
Yeah, like even the Friends cast, like they would do stuff here and there, but I mean, they were locked in
until Friends was basically over. Yeah.
Which it's like, I wonder how that feels as like an actor who's been around for both. Like, I don't know.
And maybe they wanted to be able to do more TV stuff, but they couldn't because their movie schedules didn't allow it, or vice versa, where like they were offered these movie roles and they had to turn it down because they were locked in. Yeah, I mean, I know. You hear that happen a lot.
I know. And I feel like that would help too, because I mean, just like Sydney Sweeney, it's like she's not just known as Cassie anymore from Euphoria, because she gets to do all these other roles, and then maybe go back to being Cassie, where it was like Jennifer Aniston obviously had like a good career and stuff, but it's like she still was Rachel from Friends, like to this day, or even, I mean, any of them. It's like they get work here and there, but they're always Phoebe. They're always, it's just interesting.
It is interesting. And I don't think that we're getting stars, like we said this before too, to the magnitude that we used to, like these mega stars, but you're seeing these people so much more frequently.
Right.
It's like that one guy that I can't think of his name that was in The Office, and I'm so sorry, sir, that I can't think of your name because you're doing some great work out here. But it's like he's in that show that just dropped, and then there was this other show on Hulu that Peacock, that came on as like a preview after I finished Apples Never Fall, and it was him as well, and that had just recently come out. So it's like those are two things that were not on my radar before, but now he's in both of them. And same with Sydney Sweeney. It's like she's been in so many movies recently, and it's just, and like Jacob Elordi too. It's like, that just wasn't possible before. And I don't know, do they actually have star power, or is it just that we are seeing them way more frequently?
Right. And they're like also doing brand deals and have a lot of followers on Instagram.
Right.
And it is kind of like a
oversaturation, kind of. It's just interesting.
It is interesting.
I snapped you about this too, but I watched All of Us Strangers. And I don't know, for some reason I thought it was not a movie but a series, and I don't know why I thought that. But anyway, it is a movie, and that's the one with Andrew Scott and Paul Mescal. Yeah. And that movie was nothing like I anticipated. I mean, I went in fully blind to that movie. The only thing I knew about it was that there was like some like gay romance, and that was literally it. Like, I had no clue of anything. And when I tell you, that made me more emotional than I was anticipating. And it took me for a little ride towards the end. Like, I am not exaggerating. Like, it was good. I can see why it was nominated for stuff. Like, I would recommend checking that one out, because it really was, it was just a good movie. And I think it was based on a book, but not exactly. I think the book was called like Strangers or something, so it was a little bit different. But yeah, it was interesting. I won't give it away. What was that one on? Hulu, maybe?
I think Hulu. Yeah, that sounds right. So like the little ad for it.
Yeah, there were some like sexy scenes, so maybe don't watch it with the kids. But
nobody look.
Yeah. Fast forward.
Of course, it's like a laggy fast forward.
So stupid with the poor things. Like, it was such a huge.
I know, like, don't look. And then it was like so laggy. Yeah. And it was like,
and then it's like still frozen on the screen.
The nakedness. Like, don't look. My husband was like, turn it off. I'm like, no, I'm invested.
That's so funny. Yeah, definitely not as much as Poor Things, though. I don't
know if there's very many movies said that much in there.
That was a unique case.
It was. I listened to Tiffany Haddish's book.
Oh, you did?
I did. It was actually really entertaining. She obviously was narrate. Well, that's not always obvious. They don't always narrate their own books, but she narrated it, and she was doing like a really good job.
Well, she's funny.
She was, and she was just so impassioned. But
wait, when did it come out?
That I'm not sure.
Was it like before her like DUI stuff? Oh, okay. So that wasn't addressed at all.
No, which after listening to the book, it's actually really sad that
she went through that
situation, because she basically her mom, so she basically grew up in like the foster system and everything, because her mom had gotten in a car accident.
Oh my gosh.
Got really bad head trauma or like a traumatic head injury, and her personality totally changed.
Oh my gosh.
And so she like just really wasn't right, and she was and Tiffany had a different dad, but then her mom got remarried and then had 3 more, I think it was 3 more kids. So she was the only one that wasn't like, had the different dad, and she started like being so mean to Tiffany and was like called her ugly, like, you look like your ugly dad, and like just wouldn't take care of her. And then she ended up being really physically abusive, like all through her life. Even as an adult, she's like, my mom would just be like beating on me if I didn't. And then her mom ended up like being in and out of like mental institutions, and she just like could not
get back to how she was.
But sometimes she would like get on medication, everything would be better. But it was just so sad when she was talking about that. I'm like, how traumatic that would be to have that be the reason that your parent, or not even just your parent, but anybody you like loved was
different.
Yeah, and it was just really sad. But then she also had her husband that she ends up marrying is like really abusive as well.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Like just a ton of domestic violence, and it was just really sad. But her book was still really fun and entertaining, and she told the stories really good, I thought. I mean, I definitely did like laugh a little bit. And then also I wanted to say too that she couldn't read for a long time, but nobody was like really teaching her, but she was still in AP classes and was just kind of like flubbing her way through.
My God.
And finally she like takes this drama class because she like likes this boy or whatever. And the drama teacher's like, read this monologue, you know, and she's like, okay, I'm just gonna take it home, because she would like get people to like read it, and she's like, I had a really good memorization, but I just didn't. She's like, I'm gonna take this home, you know. And then the teacher's like, no, do it now. And she's like, no. And she was like, you can't read, can you? And she's like, no. And then so this teacher ends up helping her like read and stuff, and now, you know, and then she could read. And but it was just like crazy the way she like
could just get by. That like makes me so sick though, because
I know.
It's like, where was she from?
California,
like LA, or like, I just feel like big city school systems. I know. I mean, kids just totally get lost in the cracks, and that happens so frequently. And like, you know, you don't always recognize it, especially if you aren't a teacher or a parent or something. Like you, and like you just said, she was really good at masking that she couldn't read.
She was like funny too, so if like the teacher's like, you know, read that paragraph and it was the wrong one or something, she'd just be like,
she'd play it off,
whatever, you know, blah 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 blah. And it was like, it just really, and nobody was like questioning it. And she also said, she's like, I didn't think I could read because, you know, I'm being constantly called stupid all the time by like her mom. And then even when people would like think she was funny, you know how sometimes they're like, oh, stop being stupid and stuff. She's like, I thought they were really calling me stupid. So it was just really sad.
So sad.
I know. And it was, I mean, it was a really entertaining book, but
that is so sad though. Like, hearing that, and then, you know, like she's gone through a couple issues with alcohol.
I know, and it was kind of a, I don't want to say a bummer, but it's almost like, and then her dad, like as she's writing the book, because she ends up being reunited with her dad,
her bio dad.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to say. Well, first, and he ends up passing away, and then it's like her mom is just not good. So it's just kind of like a thing, but. The thing I forgot to say, okay, so the mom gets in a car accident and this stepdad is just like super not great.
Yeah.
And he goes, you know, she's like going through a really hard time. Like, this is so crazy. She's like, I was going through a really hard time. And I think she said it was her, I can't remember if it was her 21st birthday or I don't know. She was like a milestone birthday. And he takes her out to eat, and she's like, I just can't do this anymore. Like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to handle it. And he goes, you're meant to live. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I cut the brakes on your mom's car, and I took insurance policies out on all you kids, and you all weren't in the car. So you and your siblings are meant to live. And she's like, are you kidding me? And then later he denies that he said that and that he did it at all.
Oh my God.
And she's like, still to this day, like, she does not know if that was real. And then she's like, later on, like, she was having problems with this boyfriend, and he's like, do you need me to hire somebody to get rid of him and get rid of? She's like, did you do this to me? And then she goes, and then I started hooking up with cops and like trying to get with them, and like, what can I do to prove this? And they're like, all you have is his word, like, you can't prove anything. And she's like fixated on, she's like, how can I get him to admit it? And then it's like, even if he was just like messing with her, that's so horrible. She's had this terrible life, and he like says that, and it was just so
jarring.
Insane.
Oh my God.
She's like, so she literally doesn't know if it was her stepdad's fault or not.
And then like that totally backfired on the stepdad.
Yeah.
Like you didn't get any money out of it.
No, I know that's literally what he said. He's like, I'm supposed to be a
cost you
millionaire.
money.
Like, and he wanted, you know, and then I mean, I don't have to tell every detail.
Oh my God,
but he
that
like
is
didn't take care of
horrible.
the kids. It was just crazy. And then she had like a do you remember that whole thing where Will Smith and her did the Groupon swamp tour? Do you remember hearing about all that?
No.
And it was like Will Smith and Jada just like on the swamp tour from Groupon that Tiffany Haddish did. And so she talked about that, and that was really funny too.
I don't remember that.
It was like just such a blip. But that was funny.
Oh
and
my
she, of course, she had
gosh.
like a Scientology story.
I feel like she would be
like
the person that's
anybody.
in everything.
I know. And like anybody in LA, like I love the Scientology. But she basically was like, they put, because she had to live in like group homes and stuff. And she, you know, when she was there, they made him sleep in bunk beds. And she's like, I'm not sleeping in a bunk bed. I'm not doing it. They're like, she's like, find me a different room. They're like, no, you have to be here. Because it was like in the group homes with the bunk beds. And she just like get beat up all the time. It's just so sad. But she did. I just thought this was, she told a story about how she hooks up with this like disabled man, like kind of handicapped man. And she's like telling the story, and I guess I don't really know how to feel about the story, but it's so weird because even like she was saying funny stuff, but even alone, because we're so like conditioned to be so sensitive and like not laugh at anything, that I was like even like like by myself, because we're so used to not being allowed to like
just laugh
at like this crazy story she's telling. And I don't know how I feel about it, but it was just weird for me. I'm like, I'm literally by myself. Nobody knows what I'm listening to. Like, just freaking laugh if you think it's funny. But anyway.
And like she put it in the book, right? Like it's not like...
It's like... But
she
anyway.
just seems like the person that like any crazy experience, oh yeah, that happened to me.
Oh,
or
literally.
like, oh, you want to hear one? I've got one for you.
I know, and it is interesting. It's like all this crazy, and then some of it too is kind of like, are people screwing with her? You know what I mean too? So then it's like this whole, and there's like this whole boyfriend, and she just had the craziest stories. But it was definitely a really entertaining book, and I think people should listen to the audiobook version to hear her do.
I know audiobooks are just so, I mean, when the author does them, it just can be so, you know, not all the time, because we definitely
come across some not great audiobooks.
But when they're good, they're good.
I know, like where it's like a full immersive experience. Like even with Seth Rogen's book was like okay, but he had like sound effects and stuff, and it just felt like such a cool experience.
Yeah, like we said so many times, I cannot imagine reading Matthew McConaughey's book.
Right,
like listening to it is a totally different experience.
I know, like you, like, they just
like I just
so
felt
good.
Every time I would listen to that, I'm like, Matthew's with me telling me these stories. Like it just felt so much more personal.
It really does. And it just like, and it makes me feel like they believe in the story that they wrote, because some of them you're kind of like, I don't know, this feels very fluffy.
Right, I know.
Where it's like when they're actually like reading it and really impassioned by it, it just is like, okay, I believe that this is what you wanted out here.
Yeah. And it's just fun when they do it right to hear how they say stuff. Because when you read it, you're just thinking in your head, how would this sentence be said, or where's the inflections, or where. But when you hear it and they're not just so monotone and whatever, when they actually have distinction in their voice, like that makes it fun. It
really does. And this was a good one.
Nice.
I enjoyed it.
Good.
Wasn't sure what to expect, but
I
was pleasantly surprised.
Well, you knew it'd be kind of funny anyway, but
and I know we kind of talked about this a little last time. Like some of the comedians when they write books are just like this is really what you wanted for your book. Like, I don't know if it's almost like this fine line of like, I have to make this funny because I'm a comedian.
The pressure.
But I also want to tell you my life story. And it's kind of like, sometimes I feel like it just doesn't work at all. But then sometimes you get like this one where it did work. And we got like her life story and funny stories in the mix. So.
Right. Yeah. That's best of both worlds.
Yes.
Do you want to take a little break?
Sure.
Okay, we're back. All right. Should we go into Vanderpump?
Sure.
I want to say I did not even realize this, and it annoys me when they do this. They put out an uncut and uncensored version of this episode on Peacock. And I looked back and they didn't have previous ones from the season. So this was the first time, and I don't like it when they do that because then I wouldn't even bother watching live.
Right.
Because there were multiple, like I wrote down
saw
the
a couple
scenes.
Clips.
Yeah.
Where there was like a little, I didn't look at a ton of stuff because the comments were irritating me.
Yeah.
So I stopped looking, but I was like, well,
there were
there's
multiple
more.
things.
Yeah.
And even, I saw some of it and I thought, wait, this was not in the episode. And then before I came here, I watched it quick. And it was all in the uncensored version. I mean, I like the uncensored version, but when they put so much extra stuff into it, and then, I guess this is just like an us problem because we record our podcast, but it's just hard to watch it live on Tuesday. And then if we want to watch everything, we have to watch that episode the next day on Wednesday, and then we also record on Wednesday. Like, it's just, it doesn't work for our schedule. So if they could change that, that would be great.
Can't they just have not release that or something?
Right. Like, I wish that they just did their reunions like that.
Yeah.
You know?
I know, it's just weird.
So I probably won't, see all of that, or like, I doubt that we're going to be able to watch both episodes or both versions of the episode every week or see everything. So we might be missing stuff. I don't know. Okay. So this episode started out with Ariana interviewing Anne, but it ended up not really being her interviewing, and it was just them kind of talking about, the possibility for Ariana to get an assistant, and then understandably Anne wants to not work for Sandoval anymore.
Yes.
So and then Ariana even said, like, at the end, like, because of our living situation, like, I'm not gonna poach you, but maybe in the future we could do that. In the extended version, Anne got a confessional, and she was in there and talking about how, like, she just wanted to work for Ariana so bad because they have a lot of things in common, and it would just be, obviously a better situation. And then this happens a little bit later, but she ends up kind of detailing what happened where, like, she thought Tom fired her. And I can totally see how that got misconstrued. Like, him saying, hey, don't show up for a few days. I don't need you. And I'm sure he didn't say it super eloquently.
No.
But she said she was just like freaking out because she thought she got fired. And she went up to Ariana's room and was crying.
I know. And they kind of like said something about that later, but I just...
like, just poor Anne. It just made me sad for her.
I know. And he's just... And it's such like just an awkward, icky situation anyway, and like high stakes. And
right. And then when she said, some of the stuff that she had to do, like cleaning up after him, picking up socks and underwear and stuff, I'm like, that is not what your type of assistant should be doing.
No,
like,
that's just a servant.
Who do you think you are too? Like, and then when Ariana said that he would wear his underwear for multiple days in a row, I gagged.
It's just so... I'm not surprised. Dirty man.
That would only be a thing if it was like an emergency situation.
Right, you're stranded on a desert island.
Right. Like you literally didn't have another option.
Right. I know.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised though.
She said, no wonder like I didn't want to sleep with him if he's not changing his underwear.
That did like kind of like I'm not surprised, but I am a little bit surprised because I feel like he'd be the type that like would shower 30 times a day.
I know, I agree.
But then also I'm like, no, he is gross.
Keep putting on this.
Well, I only wore this for 2 hours.
Yeah. It still makes me laugh too when we see the shot of the noise machine in the hallway. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. And then through that too, like Tom makes a big deal about how he overheard the two of them talking and then he got mad about it. And then a little bit later, Katie talks about like invasion of privacy and all this stuff. And I'm just like, first of all, it's not really that surprising that Tom overheard the conversation because they're in the same house.
I know. And you're like filming.
Right.
With your assistant is all mic'd up.
Right.
Like,
so I think if he probably went out into the hallway, he could hear whatever. I mean, I'm sure he was being a creeper and sneaking anyway. And then with the Katie thing, that annoyed me when she said that last week too, when she got mad about like the Scheana and Max thing. It's not an invasion of your privacy because she isn't creeping on your location. She doesn't have your location. Like these things are not blatant invasions of privacy, Katie.
I mean, it is, but then it's like it like if somebody did that to me, I would be annoyed, but also I would love to do it to somebody else. So it's kind of like that weird like in between like it would just irritate me if somebody did it to me, but like, I also want to do it to people.
And I get it that because it didn't really work out in her favor, how it's annoying. But also, I mean, at one time, Max gave permission for Scheana to have his location. That's not something
after
that
they were hooking up.
Well, yeah. But it's not something that Scheana is just being a psycho and gathering and nobody knows about it. Right. You know, like you literally have to approve that. It pops up on your phone and it'll say, like, are you sure you want to share your location? And then you say yes or no. And then you still have the power to go in and remove that. Right. But I get how it's annoying for her. And it's just like I get it. But it just, it wasn't, she wasn't creeping on you specifically. Ariana said when she's talking with Katie, she says that she's skeptical of Lala getting friendly with Sandoval when they're talking about the water tasting party. Like, yeah, you should be skeptical about that because it's freaking weird. We've said that so many times.
Doesn't make any sense.
No. And then I listened to a little bit of Lala's podcast today with Heather McDonald was on. That's the only reason why I listened.
Okay. Maybe I'll listen.
I know. I think I got maybe like a third of the way through or maybe halfway. But Lala is just, we've talked about this, how she's annoying us, but she is just doubling down. And she was saying with like,
she's being awful.
She is the ultimate Ariana hater this season. Every chance she gets, she's taking a dig at her. She's making a side remark in the confessionals. Mm-hmm. Like she is not having her back at all. And then in this interview with Heather, they were talking about the, reunion and she's like, you know, regarding the Tom stuff, like after the reunion, I'm looking at some of my co-stars differently because of all this stuff. And I'm just like, you are on your little journey. Good for you, Lala. But like you literally eviscerated this man a year ago. You said that you always hated every single solitary thing about him. You were never friends. And now that the tides have turned, you've had an awakening and everybody else is in the wrong.
No, I'm getting sick of her. I just don't even know what to say about it. It's just such a weird stance for her to make when she's literally stomped around for the past, like, since season 4. Angry at everyone, being mean to everyone. And now she's like, if somebody else wants to be angry, it's not allowed. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and like, yeah,
all. And I know she's being so mean and nasty, and even with like the dog thing and the food.
Yes.
Well, your room looks garbage. You shouldn't have garbage in your room. Well, if your room is shut and whatever. It's just like, no, I'm going to be mad about that. I don't know. It's just like.
And don't act like, you didn't leave something out.
I know, like it happens. And it's like, they get in the whole fight, but it's like, if that's your safe, you should be allowed to leave things out in your place.
Right. And if she knew that Maya would have been into that, then she wouldn't have left it out.
Right.
It just, and for Lala to just be so, just completely disregard anything other than her viewpoint is just so frustrating.
I know, and she's like, she's just angry and she needs to get over it. You don't have a leg to stand on if you're still in the house. I don't understand why Lala can't wrap her head around that there was nowhere to go.
Well, I don't understand why Lala can't wrap her mind around the fact that she did not own Randall's house.
Right. It's like, yeah, you could just dip out.
Yeah.
Ariana, it's just, I don't understand why she doesn't get it. Like, what don't people, even the comments were like really irritating me on stuff. Just like them saying that stuff about the house and like the dog thing. It's like, what don't you people get?
Yeah.
Like, you don't even have to like Ariana or think she's in the right the whole time to understand that it's not a simple, her life was uprooted and she doesn't have family out there to go stay with. Plus she has all her stuff. It's like, I just don't get what people don't get about that.
Well, and it's not easy. If she took the dog and the cat, it's not easy to find a place that's going to be affordable and also take two animals. Even if you're going to a friend's house, it's like, do you have the space to take a couple pets of mine? Like, I don't want to impose on you. Like, it's not easy. It's just, and like
I don't get what people don't get.
Neither. And like we've said it time and time and time again. They both own this property.
I know. It's like, why should she have to just leave? Like, I don't get people.
It's so silly. And I just feel like for Lala to keep just saying that over and over and over, it just sounds stupider and stupider the more that she says it, because it's just, your situation was not the same.
No.
And it's just infuriating that she does not
She's just
get that.
mean.
No, and even when she's trying to be like all, awakened and nice, it's like she still is being mean.
I know. It's like you're just redirecting the mean stuff from the bad person to the person you're making bad.
Well, and it's like, that super annoying thing where people they like cover up their hatefulness with niceness. It's like, that's what it feels like she's doing.
I know.
And because she has allegedly moved on and trying to be a softer, better person, she's now hating on the people that aren't at that place and acting like, oh, well, I'm sober. I'm being softer. I'm trying to have less hate in my heart. So I'm superior to you. Like, that's what it's like.
Also not happening either. It's like, no, you're still being evil.
No, she is. And I don't know. I just don't get it. I'm not saying that in real life, like, Lala isn't a pleasant person to be around. And I think she's a good mom and all that kind of stuff. But it's just when you, like, how do you expect people to not be frustrated or mad at you when they watch your jabs continuously in confessionals, or like you're quiet in a scene with them, or maybe are softer when you're talking to the person face to face, and then you're making these mean remarks when it's behind closed doors? Like, yeah, I'd be pretty mad at you. I know, too.
Like, I would not want to be friends with Lala if I was Ariana.
Absolutely not. Oh, so then the sparkling or the water tasting thing, the water sommelier comes over, and I thought it was hilarious how Lala just made it at James's house.
I know. I was like, wait, what? Don't you have like 6 houses?
Yeah, like why did it have
sense.
to be at his? And then when he had arrived and Lala wasn't there yet, and James and Allie are like hiding in the kitchen, like, we don't know what to do. This isn't our party. And then I think it was in the after show, which I only watched like half of, James said that Lala stuck him with the bill for the pizza.
Oh, that's nice.
So, and they continue to do James so dirty by showing the plane shots and the sound effects every time we go to his home.
I know.
It's like, come on. I actually think his house is really cute.
I know.
Who cares if it's in a fly zone? I will say I do love my sparkling water though, so like that would have been kind of intriguing to me. But
I know, I was kind of intrigued by the water thing. Just like, it's water. I love water.
Would I ever bring that to my home? No, obviously.
If someone invited me to
I would
go.
Yeah, I would go. That water was pretty fancy.
It was.
They stopped doing that. Brock is trying to be a full-on main character and keeps stirring the pot every single episode.
Ew, I'm so like...
He's annoying me.
I know. You can't do that and like be a deadbeat dad to your other kids. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't be both those things.
I know.
Because it's just like any little thing you do is going to irritate me.
Right. I know. And I don't think people are forgetting about that either.
No.
And you can make mistakes and whatever, but
you can accidentally beat your old partner and
forget to pay child support for years.
Name your daughter the same name, basically, and then they have the same birthday, and it's
just there's too many things. And do I think that Brock is like a horrific person? I mean, no. I think he is questionable.
I don't know what to think of him.
What?
I don't know what to think of.
I don't know. I mean...
Well, and it's like, Annie keeps like getting on Scheana, like, just find a babysitter.
That I don't like at all.
I know. It's like, what do you need a babysitter for? You don't have a job.
Right. And
why can't you watch her?
Well, what did he say this time? During the pandemic, we sold our gyms or whatever the heck they had. It's just like, Brock... You literally aren't doing anything.
I know. Why do you need this nanny babysitter thing so bad? Like, what do you guys have to go do that you can't bring her with you? Or she's going to be in school in probably like in another year.
Yeah. Or like, I know that Scheana does do stuff outside of the show. Right. But you're telling me that she wouldn't carve out some time so that you could go and start a business or do whatever you wanted to do, and she would be at home with Summer.
I know.
I mean, I don't buy that for 1 second.
I know. I was getting really irritated. It's like, get out of here.
Well, and I'm just getting, like, last week, I could give kind of a pass with how not a pass. It was still absolutely ridiculous, but I understood the whole thing with the location from everybody was very, like, alcohol fueled too. I mean, you can tell everybody was intoxicated at that point. But then when this episode and even previously this season, he's like made little comments and purposely said little things. And it's like, okay, he's trying to be like producer minded. Right. But it just isn't landing in my opinion.
No. And it's like, he's not a good, I don't know. I don't want to say he's not a good person, but you don't have the right to like come in on this group
and try to be a main character.
Right.
Yeah. And ask these questions. Just be Scheana's husband. Yeah. That's all I want from you.
Payroll husband.
Well, the one thing I can agree with Nick Vial.
You know what?
Maybe
he's kind of a payroll husband. Goes and gets the merch.
Anyway. But he talks about Sandoval, or talks to Sandoval about dating and the stuff with T and blah 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 blah. Nobody cares because we're never gonna see T ever again.
Paid actress.
Exactly. But that just kind of brings up, other stuff about what did they say? He and Schwartz are going to do like a singles thing. And that's just going to be so cringeworthy. I already know. But then I thought it was cute. I do like the dynamic we're getting with Katie and Schwartz here. Like, I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I just don't know. It seems like the annoying little brother, like, picking on the big sister.
Well, isn't he, though? Yeah. Doesn't he just, like, have that? That is literally his whole personality. But I did think it was kind of, I don't know, it was just kind of, like, nice to see them being able to kind of both take little jabs at each other, but like they're joking and like serious at the same time. It just was fun to see that dynamic. But I did think it was funny when he's like, oh, do we want to talk about it? And then he's like, you dirty dog. I know, like, that made me laugh. And then but when he said, oh, Katie effed up too, I'm like, whoa.
No, she didn't.
You two are not on the same level here. Like, let's not even act like that she did after you guys had been divorced for a significant amount of time is at all the same as things you've done throughout the marriage.
I know.
But it was just nice to see them not fighting, I guess. It was cute. And then we get into the huge explosion of Tom and Ariana in the kitchen fighting about Maya.
And she said the attempted dog murder, that like made me laugh because it was so like you could just see the lip like tensing up.
I know.
And that's the thing too, like I don't get, like, because again, I read those freaking comments. It's like, how do you not understand that anything he does, like, he just ripped her life up?
I don't get, well,
how do you not understand? Like, anybody in that position would react the way she's reacting.
It's been a few months when this was filmed. It has only been a handful of months since this all happened. And it's just incomprehensible to me that people are acting like if this happened to them, they would be totally fine with their ex.
That's what blows my mind. I know. I'm like, shut up, guys. You don't.
It's, I saw on Watch What Happens Live, Nicola Coughlan and Brittany were on, and Nicola was in, she's the little blonde one from Bridgerton. Oh, I have no idea what her character's name is, but she had an interesting, well, not an interesting take. I think it's the take of like a sane person where she said, if this happened in anybody else's life, like one of your friends, you would give them a year grace period, right? Of, you can be as mad as you want. You can say the worst things about your ex, and you are going to be supported, right? And then, after that, you shouldn't be kind of living in this hatred bubble anymore. But it frustrates me so much with Ariana. It's like, I think Scheana and Brock said it. I think James said it, and Lala has said it. Yes. She will feel a lot better when she can move on through this and let the hate go. Right.
And it's like, how can she let it go when she is in this house with him and wrapped up like just the financial part of them together would be such an irritating thing to then have to like lose all that. It's like, and I mean, I don't get why people don't understand that.
She just isn't ready either. I mean, it's still very raw.
Even if she's dating somebody else, she's still, and we don't even really know how serious that relationship was at that time.
Right, because they are still long distance. They don't see each other all the time.
It's just, I don't get why people don't get it.
I know. And like I just said, she will feel better when she can do that. And I mean, I don't know where she is right now. I guess we'll see that more at the reunion. But it's just, she hasn't been able to move on. And even if, say she did move out of the house immediately, they still both have their names on the home.
They're still gonna have to do these dealings, and that's a lot of dealings to do. And if you're not selling the house as like a joint person. It's like, it's gonna be, that in itself is hard and annoying.
Yeah. It's just, I think that they are just trying to force her to move on too fast. And I get it's also the show and stuff, but just, I mean, the constant of them saying like, you know, oh, she's overreacting, or oh, wow, she was really aggressive. And I hated how after that whole blow up fight that then Sandoval calls Schwartz and he's like, did you see that? Or this is what I deal with all the time. Like, no, you didn't.
I know. Oh yeah, she's just such a rageful psycho. Like, don't, shut up. This is why I had to have an affair. And
yeah, just trying to justify.
Like,
I mean,
so
and then
weird.
Think of all the times that Sandoval had exploded.
Yeah, it's like, well, she had to deal with your rage too.
It's like that just was gaslighting at its finest by him, which we have seen time and time again.
Schwartz.
Yeah.
See, it's like you didn't have to convince Schwartz of
No,
anything.
I mean, Schwartz has been on your side the whole time. The other thing I wanted to say, this was a scene that was taken out from the extended version, and it was Kyle Chan and the Toms go out to like eat or whatever, and then Schwartz, they're talking about the location thing for some reason, and Schwartz is like, well, Katie still has my location, and Sandoval goes, oh, well, I'll show you how to turn that off.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah, he knows how to turn it on.
you know exactly how to do that because you probably did that immediately when you started the affair because you're a snake. And then that whole time they're talking about stuff, Schwartz was like, you know, I had a really good conversation with Katie about the whole Max thing. And he is just obliterating Katie, like hating on her. Oh, thing after thing after thing after thing. Like, what did he say? Oh, like, she's made her life on slut shaming women. It's always about her feelings and never about anybody else's. Basically just how horrible she is. And this is the stuff that he spewed to Schwartz constantly throughout his marriage to her. And obviously I've already talked about how Schwartz was not perfect, and you know, I'm not saying that was Sandoval was the fault of their divorce and stuff, but it's like when you do have a friend that is constantly hating on your spouse, I think that it would make you, if you really value that friend, it would make you look at your spouse differently. Right. You know, I mean, imagine if I was spewing stuff about your husband all the time. You'd either get really mad at me and cut me off as a friend, or you'd be like, you know what? Maybe you have a point. Right. Yeah, like, so that just really made me mad. And he's like, she's such a hypocrite, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes in and starts calling Ariana lazy and how she does literally nothing around the house. And she's
sorry, does she not want to clean up after you?
It's just like, he's
terrible.
He's just the number one gaslighter. Like, I can't listen to his crap. It's just insane. And I know we say this.
And look at, that was a part where they were giving the guys the good edit, you know.
Because they took it out. Yeah. And I wonder, like, maybe that's why they did. I'm sure this isn't the first conversation they've had like this, but maybe this one was just so, you know, they had to put this in, and that's why they did this one at uncensored and uncut. Right. And they haven't done that to any of the other ones. I don't know. But it was just, that made me so mad. I don't even know. Ariana goes through and she has all the receipts about who bought what furniture. Okay, so hopefully you're getting the ball rolling with that. But we know in reality that they're still kind of in limbo with the house. Then we go to beach day take 2, which I thought was kind of funny. And they like do a callback to the other beach day that was a complete disaster. And then the part that made me laugh so hard, even when I watched it the second time, was when they're coming out with the tent thing and James is trying to put it together and he's like underneath it and struggling. And then they show Brock literally picks it up with one hand and pops it open like with such ease. I just thought that was freaking hilarious. Everybody just starts making really rude comments regarding the Rachel stuff. It's like, these aren't jokes. It's not funny.
I know. I thought that was absolutely insane. And it's like, how could you, like, Ariana's sitting there.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so
insensitive.
It's awful. They're just crappy people. I don't know.
If this was 10 years down the road,
right,
and all this was behind them, and Ariana's happy with her life fully, and Tom is happy with his life fully, and sometimes a little like joke like that can come up and you would be fine with it, but this is a few months after the fact, and it's so hurtful that you would even make a joke like
terrible.
that.
Like, who wants to be friends with you? I would not want to be around them ever again, to be honest.
I know, with all the stuff that they're saying. And then Scheana, I'm sorry, Scheana, like, I do think that people are being really hard on you for no reason, but like, you were the ultimate pick-me.
Oh, that was horrible.
I mean, pretty much every guy in this group has flirted with me at some point.
Including you, Sandoval, but didn't say Sandoval.
Like,
it was so I kind of like that Sandoval was like, do you mean the recipient of your flirting? I was like, yeah. And what is wrong with her that you're saying that right in front of your friend?
Because she just had to bring it back to her. She's unaware.
I know. I was texting my mom. I was like, yuck, Scheana. Like, I had no other words.
And I do think that people like are hard on her for no reason about stuff, or like.
But now I'm starting to think that maybe it was no reason.
Yeah, there was
a reason, I mean.
If you're making little comments like that, it's like you're just looking for attention. I mean, there is, especially when your husband is right there. Why would you say that?
I know, it was why. And he's all like, yeah, that's fine. Made out with shorts, totally fine. Like, I don't know. It's just like.
And I don't think that it's weird, especially if you have like a group of like couple friends.
Right.
There's probably going to be a little like playful, fun, appropriate flirtation between everybody. Like, I don't think that's weird. Right. But then when you call it out,
I know
that makes it crazy. Really weird.
It was really. I know. I don't know. And even like, I just don't know. I'm like, I feel like Scheana was getting the good at it too. I don't know.
The whole time.
So like, yeah, I'm like, this is getting weirder and weirder.
That was just, I hated that comment. And it came out of nowhere.
Literally, it was, I don't even remember what they were talking about. And she goes, well, I've been the victim of all your flirt. What a victim. And then even when she talked about the shorts thing where he like pinned her up against the wall and like shoved his tongue down her throat. Like,
but then she doubled back on it.
Yeah, it's like, well, actually, it wasn't like that. So first of all, you said he assaulted you.
Yeah, you basically said he did.
Assault is whatever. It's all crazy.
But she just wants it. She can't stand to not have some attention. Like, she is just such a pick me. Another thing that was cut out of the extended version was Allie and James had a little gossip session over a lunch with Lisa and James's mom, and it was kind of cute. And Lisa was like, it's kind of weird that Scheana is still tracking Max's location after all these years after they slept together. And then Lisa goes, well, I heard that Max was pretty gifted, but I can't really say anything more about that. His
rounds. Dana, Scheana, Kristen.
I know.
Katie, no.
Well, they said that in the after show too. It was Kristen and again, like I said this, I think last week too, but why do we have the Valley cast and the Vanderpump cast in the after show? But it's just Brittany, Jax, and Kristen. Just bring them on the show. Like, I can't talk about it anymore. But it was Scheana and Kristen, and they were saying, like, Kristen was like, well, you've been there a few times. I've been there a few times. And Sheena's like, yeah, she's heard pretty good reviews. So she just wanted to try it out for herself. But these people are so insane.
I know.
What friend group do you have where, like, all your friends have slept with the same people?
I know. I feel like it would get to a point where I'd be like, no, I don't know. No, thank you.
Like, if 3 of my friends had slept with one guy, there is a 0% chance I'd be the fourth.
I know.
No way. I mean, that is just like bordering on prostitution at that point.
I know. They're all just swapping him around.
That is crazy to me. Anyway, then just to wrap up the beach day thing, just Ariana kind of Tom says, you know, I really thought that our breakup would be more civil than Tom and Katie's. No. I really thought this was going to go a different way and that we would just be better than how they handled it. What delusional world are you living in?
Well, then why did you have an affair? I know it was so, and I don't know if he was talking about like, I don't know if some of that conversation was missing in that confessional or what, because that makes no sense. Yeah, like, but was he like, if I hadn't cheated, I thought it would have went well?
No, I don't believe that. I think that he legitimately thought that even with his full-on affair, everything would be fine.
She wasn't supposed to find out about the affair.
Right. So. And he was going to just break up with her in the most perfect way ever. And then ride off into the sunset with Rachel and have babies in the house that he once owned with Ariana.
Yep.
And then he and Ariana would still be friends and they'd still talk and everything would be fine. Like, that is insane. That
is like getting an institution.
I know. When we say narcissist, I mean, how can it not be?
I know. It almost, like, just him saying something like that is like, something ain't right there.
Well, like you just said, get an institution. Like, it literally is
so beyond.
It's concerning.
Like, I know. Like I know.
Like, are you kidding?
Like, if he wasn't making his rude comments all the time, like, I would be like, I think he really needs some, like,
mental help.
Yeah, like, because something ain't right there.
I mean, I 100% think that he does need to go to therapy, which he won't do, but more than that.
I know, like, truly needs to go somewhere else. But then he's, like, being so mean and nasty that I'm like, okay, he knows what he's saying.
Right. He has these moments of clarity where he is saying things purposefully. Right. Yeah, that was just baffling. And then basically it ends with Ariana being frustrated because everybody is saying, like, you're pushing him upon me, like, how do you want me to react? And you're saying I need to move on, but, like, how can I right now?
Right.
Like, just stop. Like, they're giving her such a hard time and it's not fair.
No.
And the last thing from the after show, they were talking about the Maya situation, and James was like, they're Ariana's pets. So, I mean, she's the one that loves him, takes care of him, yada, yada, yada. And then Sandoval in the after show said, you know, I do miss Maya. We'd play hide and seek, and, you know, she was there for me. I'm just like, dude, I'm sorry. He is so inconsiderate. You didn't care when
the one passed away.
No, and it's also just like, he is so inconsiderate of anything other than what is in his own orbit, that, like, the Maya thing, Ariana should not have had this container out, but she closed the door, not thinking Maya would be in there. He shouldn't have gone into her room. That was an invasion of privacy. And also, he doesn't even, like, think that, oh, Maya could have walked in here, or she is in here. How do you miss the dog?
And then when she said he left the door open one time.
Yeah, the back door. It's like, and then he continued to list all these things in the after show, like, oh, well, one time I left paintballs out and she ate them. Or one time there were laxatives and she ate the laxatives. And then there was something else too that he said. And it was all things that he had left out.
Right.
It's like, you are so inconsiderate.
He really is. Because he's a child.
Right. And you don't tell me that you want to own this dog.
Right. Like, you don't care about the dog at all.
No. And if you know that she gets into stuff and eats stuff, you would be more careful about what is out. And he doesn't care. So don't tell me that you miss Maya. No, you don't.
No.
Anyway, that was pretty much all I had to say about that.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I don't really have anything to say about the Valley. The only thing I wanted to really say was I saw there was an interview with one of the producers, and it was like a Q&A thing. And she said the question was, which couple or what people hid the most from producers or tried to hide the most. And this producer said Luke and Kristen. Which, I know we don't really know them that well, but what are your like surface level thoughts of them as a couple?
Seems like a typical Kristen relationship.
Like, I think Luke is a little weird.
I know. He looks like he looks like the most generic person that you could find. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and I don't see like them actually wanting to be with each other.
No, it's kind of like, ooh, well, I have to be part of it. I don't know.
I mean, I don't really care.
Right. Is he on the podcast with her?
Yeah. I don't think he's on every time. But when, you know, like the rest of the world during Sandoval, I was listening to hers when she would talk about stuff. And he would be on there sometimes. But I haven't listened to her podcast in a long time. So I don't know if he still is on. But then once I actually, and I know this is me being very vain, but once I saw him and then I saw like how they interact with each other, I was just very put off. It just was, I don't know. And just in this episode when they're at the dinner at the end and he like has his arm around her, and then when, you know, Jesse starts talking about the racism stuff and he like gets up and he's like, shut up, whatever. I'm just like, this doesn't seem real, you know?
You know,
his reactions. But I don't really care. I am continuing to watch The Valley. It's just kind of like a fun half thing to watch. Might as well add it to the list, you know? But anyway, I don't feel like it's worth to go into any of the other stuff because I don't have strong feelings unless you do.
No.
Okay. My recommendation for this week was this week's episode of Not Skinny But Not Fat with Drake Bell. Did you listen?
I didn't listen yet, no.
I wouldn't say that
I will or not.
I wouldn't say that there were like big bombs dropped or anything like that. It was just nice to have him have a voice in this. And part of me is like, because I don't really know him. Like,
well, Fluently Forward did like kind of an episode about, like she did one about the Quiet on Set thing, and then she did like a mini episode like about Drake Bell and that Alexa Nichols or something.
Oh yeah,
and it's just kind of like where they've been since everything. And she was talking about the stuff that Drake Bell had kind of been like, you know, like the DUIs and
the rough times.
Yeah, all the rough times and the balloon thing in the car and everything, and which I had forgotten about.
Me too. Until literally you just said that.
I know. It's like, so she's like, I thought she did a good job being like, you know, obviously he went through a lot of trauma, but there is also stuff that he's been a part of. And I guess I just don't know how I feel about all that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that in this episode or this interview that he really tried to justify stuff and make it seem like he was the best person ever. He, you know, with some of the things that he talked about, he was like, I made these poor decisions, or I went to substance abuse or whatnot because I didn't know how to handle things.
And that's what's like so tough about not just this situation, but all those situations, because you're like,
well, even with Tiffany Haddish that you just brought up, it makes you like, it makes you think about things differently, but you also, people need to take accountability for how they like, did
if
stuff.
If you're drinking and driving or intoxicated, you could hurt someone. You know, it's like there always has to be like it's just such a complicated thing where it's like you are a victim and you went through a ton of trauma, but also you have things that, you know, I don't know. It's just, it's so complicated.
Well, it's almost more frustrating when you hear this kind of stuff with people that are in the public eye, because I mean, I guess I'm making a generalization, and I have no idea how much Drake Bell had in his bank account at whatever time in his life, but I would think that he would have enough to be able to pay for some therapy, and he did go to rehab a few times and stuff. So it's just kind of, it's just irritating when people,
you have like the resources.
Yeah, when you have the means to get help that would actually be beneficial and healthy for you, and you don't do that. And I know that addiction is more complicated than just making one simple choice, but it just I don't know, it irks you a little bit.
I know it's just so, I don't really fully know how to feel about all of it. I don't know. It's like, and again, not just with Drake Bell, but just like everybody. These people.
I definitely did not walk away from that interview and feel like an immense amount of sympathy for him. I mean, I obviously feel bad about the horrors that happened to him in his Nickelodeon days. It just kind of gave a little bit more insight to stuff, and he did detail everything about the like messaging and stuff and the allegations with that girl, which, you know, you could say this was just his side of it, but in the end it did end up going through the court system and everything, and things were proven to not be true. And he did even admit, he's like, you know, there were things that she was alleging that were blatantly false, but I did take things too far with the messaging, not in like a sexual way, but just in like I didn't know how old she was, and I shouldn't have been conversing with her like I was. So he did take accountability for that, but then I guess there were other things where she like completely made stuff up about like being at one of his concerts, and then there were people from her side that were like, no, we were there and that never happened. But that was just something that like we didn't really hear a lot about after the initial stuff came out. But overall, it wasn't like a long episode, so I would say if you are bored and have a little bit of time, it's not a bad listen. But it definitely didn't like change my mind about him as a person. It just was more information that was interesting.
I'm just gonna recommend Tiffany Haddish's book.
What is her book called?
The Last Black Unicorn. There's like a whole story about, she basically had like this, she thought it was a mole on her forehead, and people would be like, you have a horn, and she'd try to cut it off herself and then like grow back. Well, it ended up being a wart. And then she ended up getting it like removed permanently.
Oh my god.
I know, and it was like a whole thing. She's like, I would just cut that thing off and everyone would make fun of me. And she goes, so then I stopped. What'd she say? She said something like, she stopped being, I don't know, some kind of something, and then she became the last black unicorn. So it's like kind of funny.
That's cute.
Yeah.
I wonder if she'll write another book like years down the road about.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt like she really like got it all in there. I don't know. It was kind of crazy. It wasn't that long of a book, but anyway.
One last thing I wanted to say, just going off of what we said last week about Rebel Wilson's book. I think this was on Juicy Scoop, or maybe, I can't remember if it was Juicy Scoop or if Amanda Hirsch said it, but they made the good point that like when somebody kind of writes this tell-all book, a lot of times it's I'm not in this industry anymore, I'm not going to try, so F it. And it makes me wonder what is going to be next for Rebel Wilson after this.
I know. That did, I think that was on Juicy Scoop, because it made me think of Judy Greer's book. And when I read, like, I wanted all the little, like, because she's been in so many movies as a side character, and she gave us absolutely nothing about that. And I'm like, why didn't she do that? And I'm like, oh, duh, because she still wants to be working. It's like you literally can't, if you still want to work. That's why I feel like we get so many of these books from like these like like late 40s, 50s, where they kind of feel like the career is
slowing down.
Yeah, like there's a lot less to lose or whatever. But yeah, I wonder what will happen with Rebel Wilson.
Because, I mean, it's not only just, actors or actresses or coworkers. It's also producers, directors, like all these people. If you say things in there and then they're going to be scared that you're going to say other stuff about them and they won't want to hire you. So I wonder, maybe she's going to focus on her family. I don't know, but that'll be interesting. Or you know what? Maybe the book isn't going to be as juicy as we think it's going to be.
Right.
Who knows?
I know.
So
I just want to make a little announcement. Tana Mojo said she's in the works
for a book. Well, I think that she's one that could just throw it all out there.
I know. She said she really wants. She's like, I've started to, and she's like, I've been treated very badly by a lot of these people.
And I don't want to. This isn't like mean towards her, but like she doesn't really have that much to lose. Like she's already gone through all this stuff of like scandal, and she's been able to still have her podcast and have stuff with like her and Brooke, and she's been successful still. So I think that she will be able to be successful on her own.
Right.
It's like, please do tell us everything.
Right. I know.
That made me think of the tour that you went to, the canceled tour, and I saw that Celebrity Memoir Book Club was coming to Columbus, but it's on a Wednesday.
I know. Me and my mom have been talking about it. I'm like, I just can't commit yet.
I know.
I can't commit.
I know. And then they said they had a thing which I like missed, and I guess they had changed a tour date, but it ended up being not the Columbus one, but the other one that did get changed went to later in June. And I'm like, if maybe it would have been like a weekend.
I know.
It would have been easier.
Stop doing shows on the weekdays. You know what I mean?
Unless you're going to do it in Toledo.
Right. Then it's perfectly fine.
It's not as far for us. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to give us nice 5-star ratings and reviews. They mean so deeply much to us. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Bye.